Hello everyone, my name is Z, and welcome to my Knights of the Frozen Throne card pack opening video. Wow, that is quite the tongue twister there. Today's video is going to be a little bit of a longer video because, well, I have 55 KFT packs, and this is the first time that I'm going to be opening KFT packs for you guys to see, so I'm going to take a bit of extra time, do some explaining, and, you know, generally kind of give descriptions and rate the cards and whatnot. We also have a couple of extra packs that I got from various things like Tavern Brawls and an event, I think, for celebrating something Halloween. So we'll be opening up those too, but we're going to be opening up the KFT packs first because, surprise, surprise, I didn't know this, but apparently there's an algorithm in Hearthstone that says, okay, well, like once in every like 40 packs you get a legendary. So it's like a pity thing. So for each pack that you don't get a legendary, your odds increase of getting a legendary in a pack until you hit one, then it resets. So I think the idea is that we want to get rid of all the new KFT packs first in hopes of getting some of those really awesome, powerful cards, which I'll explain if we run into any. And that way, we won't waste them, hopefully, on the Whispers of the Old God packs, the classic packs, which we really don't need the legendaries for, right? So let's start with opening up these KFT packs, and we'll see what awesome prizes we have in store. Nothing particularly useful, but let's go over the cards just so that I can get that out of the way. Well, now you'll never have to worry about it again, right? So, Corpse Raiser, pretty good. Stitch Tracker, pretty good. Wicked Skeleton, not so good. Spellweaver, not so good. Play Dead, not so good. In terms of pure value, Corpse Raiser and Stitch Trackers, like descriptions, are pretty obvious. One of them allows you to resummon a minion, kind of like that Shaman card, Ancestral Spirit. And Stitch Tracker allows you to gain an extra copy of a card in your deck that you already have. So you can find Stitch Tracker in, I believe, Hunter Constructed. You'll find both of those in the arena pretty commonly, but you won't find Spellweaver, Wicked Skeleton, or Play Dead that often. Let's hope we get multiple legendaries this run, right? Oh look, even more Stitched Trackers, awesome. Well, we've been over those already, so we don't have to worry about them. But there are a couple cool cards here. Ice Walker is a very useful 2-drop. It's pretty commonly picked up in the arenas, actually. At first I thought it was going to be crappy, but it turns out, like, sometimes this guy can win you a game, just flat out. If you end up having not a lot of cards available to you in your hand, this is a great stall card because it means that your hero power not only damages a minion or a character, it also freezes them. So that in turn stalls them until you have the ability to play cards, or it allows you to set up your board better. You know, you can see the synergies there, right? So in terms of pure value, this guy is really awesome. Icebreaker is kind of funny. They recently tried to make a weird Frozen Shaman synergy. I think it's sort of supposed to be like elemental, right? So you've got fire, lightning, now you've got ice, and which is originally kind of primarily mages thing, now it's shamans. But you won't really see this a lot in the arena or constructed because, unfortunately, they don't have enough cards yet for the Frozen synergy to really be effective. Animated Berserker is not really that great. I mean, you play it as a 1-3, it's probably going to be the equivalent of a 1-2 or 1-1, which in turn is not very strong. So, it's a standard 1-drop, and I guess it just adds some early stuff to the Warriors kit. But it's not even that good because after you play a minion, it slowly loses health until it dies. Maybe you played it in Rage? You won't really see it in the arena though or constructed. Come on, legendary, legendary, legendary. Nothing. Well, we know we're getting up there. Let's see, a couple good cards in this one. We've already been over Ice Walker, but we haven't been over anything else. Shadow Ascendant's a fun card, but it is a little bit slow, so you have to be careful with this guy. You will see him picked fairly often in the arena. I'm not sure if it's really used in constructed. But the potential for him to ramp out of control is pretty funny, right? At the end of your turn, give another random friendly minion +1/+1. Keep this guy alive for 3, 4, 5 turns. Obviously, you're going to be way ahead. The problem is keeping him alive for those 5 turns. If you can do it, well done. If you can't, well, you know what's going to happen. He's pretty easy to kill. Bone Baron's a pretty decent card. He's a 5/5 and gives you 2 extra 1/1 skeletons. You'll definitely see him in the arena. Leeching Poison. You won't actually see this as much as you'd think. It seems like a good card at first, but apparently it's just not as valuable as a lot of the other rogue cards you're going to pick up. So most people will drop this card in favor of something like, you know, an Eviscerate or a Deadly Poison or something like that. It's great to have that life gain, but if you don't have a very weapons-focused deck, you're not going to get anywhere, right? Grim Necromancer is an okay 4-drop. In fact, in some ways, I think it's better than Dragonling Mechanic because you get 2 1/1 skeletons, so it's harder to kill off that extra Battlecry bonus, which means you have more flexible options going into whatever turn 5, right? What do we got here? A couple of new cards. In fact, I think they're all new cards. Awesome. Doomed Apprentice is fun. You really get a lot of nice synergies with this. You can really mess up people's turns, especially Rogue, Mage, and Warlock get really messed up with this card. However, it doesn't have the greatest stats for turn 3. Sorry. She or it? Is it a zombie now? Do zombies have gender? That's a good question. I can't wrap my brain around that right now. Let's move on. Wretched Tiller is a fun little 1-drop who's actually surprisingly aggressive. His whole deal is to like attack face because you get an additional 2 damage done to the enemy hero, which in a lot of ways makes him more effective than Lepergnome, the classic minion with the death rattle, because you can have the potential to sort of repeatedly do that and stack. However, still 1-drop and the weakest stats to boot, so it's very easily removed. So the odds of you getting it off more than once is pretty low. Spirit Lash is alright. It's a decent card. It's AoE, deals 1 damage to all minions, and it heals from them. So in a sense, it's better in some ways than Mage's Arcane Explosion, but worse in the fact that it damages your own minions and isn't the same class as the really powerful priest removals, right? It's just not as strong with that 1 damage ping. Drain Soul is a decent card. Deals 2 damage to a minion and heals you for that amount of damage. Synergizes with spell damage, but most people are just fine with the 2 damage. It's enough to clear most early game minions or sort of finish off a stronger minion if you make a trade, right? In addition, that lifesteal synergizes with Warlock's hero ability, and so you will see it pretty often in the arena because it's got that decent value there. Sunborn Valkyr is also something you'll see pretty commonly right now. Just the ability to give the minions +2 max health is pretty awesome. It's great synergies with heals, though heals are not super prevalent. In some classes they are, I guess, but this could be especially powerful in Priest because not only do you heal them for 2, you give them 2 max health, which means they can heal up more, right? Which is pretty awesome. However, most people don't go that far. It's more of just here, how I give my minions a buff so they can make a trade they wouldn't normally be able to make, right? Still pretty strong though in that respect, and the stats are okay. Come on, where are these legendaries at? Nothing. Alright, let's see. A couple more good cards are here. Fallen Sun Cleric's one of them. It's a decent 2-drop. It is the equivalent of the Shattered Sun Cleric, which is a 3-mana, 3/2, does the same battle cry. So it's a little bit earlier tempo, but it has a little bit weaker stats. Still a decent card. Cold Wraith, awesome stats for turn 3. Great battle cry if you can get the battle cry off. Most of the time you won't in the arena, but those stats make up for it, right? It's still got very good stats for turn 3. 6-mana Shadow Essence. Summon a 5/5 copy of a random minion in your deck. It's playable. I mean, there's a chance you could most of the time you'll just draw a minion without any benefits, like a neutral minion, but sometimes maybe you'll get a taunt minion from your deck, or a lifesteal minion from your deck, or a death rattle minion from your deck, or a passive ability like Yasharl, Rage, Unbound, which is really funny when you can pull that from your deck. In fact, there's a whole priest deck centered around one minion who we haven't seen yet, and I'll explain that minion later, but it's very powerful, and the whole thing involves playing that one minion and then resummoning it over and over and over and over again, and just completely destroying your opponent's board. It's hilarious. I'll explain it once we run into it. I'm pretty sure we will. If not, well, I'll explain it anyways afterwards then. Anything? A couple of the same things we've seen, but a couple of the other things that we haven't seen yet, actually. So let's go over them, shall we? What do we have? We have Death Speaker, Righteous Protector, Hildner Frostrider, and, well, they basically have all unique abilities in their own ways, right? Death Speaker is cool because it gives a friendly minion immune. It's like Divine Shield, but in some ways it is better because it allows you to take a minion with stronger stats and keep it alive, or I would say Immune is technically better than Divine Shield in a lot of senses because, well, there's not a good way to say it. Divine Shield's passive, immunity is active, right? So Righteous Protector is, well, the opposite, kind of. Immunity and Divine Shield are, you know what, I'm going to revise my opinion there. I would say they're even. One is based off of Battle Cry, right? And one is based off of passiveness. So in some cases, Divine Shield's better because it's just there. And in some cases, Death Speakers is better because it's like a spell where you just bring it out of nowhere and then all of a sudden you've got an invincible minion, right? So moving on from that. Righteous Protector, very good one drop. Taunt Divine Shield, it doesn't get much better than that for a one drop. Not only does it protect you, it also is hard to remove. And in terms of just value tempo, you can just drop that on any turn, right? So you'll see these pretty frequently in the arenas. Hilner Frost Rider you'll also see pretty frequently because of those amazing stats. The Battle Cry sucks, but the stats more than make up for it, especially if you play it on an empty board on turn 3. Boom. What, like, talk about tempo. That's just awesome. What else we got? Hey, 2 rares in 1 pack, and they're both alright. They're pretty funny. Haven't seen Snowflipper Penguin though. This is actually used in a couple constructed decks, like I think 1 turn kill Paladin, and also, what else? I think it's also used in Highlander Priest sometimes. It's just a trigger for the hero power to like refresh, essentially, which is pretty funny. Runeforge Haunter is a decent 4-drop. The stats are kind of meh, but the ability to not like protect your weapon, especially if you have like a 3-attack weapon from deadly poison or something like that, it's just awesome to have that extra little bit of removal. And if they can't remove it, all of a sudden you've got infinite removal. Of course, you have to watch out for your life total, but you get the idea. Bone Drake is a really good dragon. It's 6 mana, 6/5, death roll, add a random dragon to your hand. Pretty much all dragons are good in some way. Be it Fairy Dragon, the 2 mana, 3/2 that can't be targeted, or Deathwing, you know, like it could go to any scale. And all of those scales are pretty good in some way. Haven't run into any legendaries yet, but we are getting an epic or 2. Let's see. We'll probably get more. Gnome is kind of funny. There is actually a Control Warlock variant deck that involves Gnome and it's pretty funny when you discard like another deck's combo piece, like Highlander Priest, like Shadow Reaper Anduin, which is one of the cards that we should explain. Death Knights are the big legendaries of this expansion, and that's what I'm kind of hoping you get from this card pack opening video, is at least one new Death Knight that I don't have yet. I actually crafted a couple earlier in the season when the expansion was just released, because basically any meta deck requires a Death Knight, be it Warrior, Priest, Paladin, well, not Paladin, I guess Paladin, you know, Mage in some cases. It's pretty much Warlock, a big one, right? All the classes have incredibly awesome Death Knights, and they're basically super overpowered legendaries that you need to have in your deck. Moving on from that, if you discard those with Gnome that's pretty awesome, right? Keening Banshee's okay, you'll sometimes see it in the arena. It won't be used in Constructed. It's got great stats for turn 4, but a terrible passive ability, so you really need to be careful how you play this card. Maybe you just leave it on a board and don't play anything until you trade it out, or you're like, oh, it's not a big deal. I'm going to rely on this creature to deal as much damage to face as possible and hope that the cards that I discard aren't super important, right? Scalemancer is also an okay minion that you'll sometimes see. It's weak stats, like for turn 5, but if you can get the Death Rattle off, all of a sudden it turns into something really, really powerful, right? However, I found it incredibly hard, personally, to get the trigger Death Rattle for Scalemancer off. Most people will try to avoid it at all costs, even if it throws them back a little bit. And then you just have a 2/2 that you played for 5, and that was your turn, right? Not really good. So I wouldn't recommend drafting it in the arena, but if you really need something to fill out your curve, and you think that you will run into enough people with AoEs that they need to play, or won't have silences or whatever, I don't know, like, then, you know, pick it up. Frozen Clone's alright, it's a new mage secret, and it adds copies of a minion that your opponent plays to your hand. So it's kind of a lot like Mirror Entity, except it's a delayed Mirror Entity, and you can theoretically get more value out of it because perhaps those minions have death rattles or battle cries or whatever. So in some ways it's slower, but it also gives you more value over time. What else do we have? Still no legendaries, so sad. But we still have some new cards to go over, which is cool. Bear Shark, really good common for Hunter. Can't be targeted by spells or hero powers, and it has good stats for turn 3. I've had many a Hunter arena where this guy has been an MVP. It just is so fun to like trade into something like a 2-attack minion early, and then swing face 1 or 2 times, and they have to trade a minion in, basically, or use AoE to get rid of it. Dark Conviction is a pretty good paladin card. It's kind of going along the theme of messing with a minion's attack and health. We saw in an earlier expansion, I believe it was League of Explorers, the 4-mana 3/4 that does this. Now you have a cheaper variant that's just a spell, so you don't get a minion along with it. However, it's still very powerful, especially when your opponent's playing big minions, right? Arrogant Crusader is pretty funny, actually. It's surprisingly good. It looks weird at first with the 2 health, but the death rattle is not terrible. It's not great, but it's not terrible. More often than not, people are going to trade this out, even if it means you summon the 2/2 ghoul, because 5 attack trading into anything else is pretty bad, right? So at the very least, you get some value from it. So it's not bad. Chillest Champion is okay. It uses lifesteal, which is would deal damage, heals your face, and it has charge, so you can use it immediately. You won't see it very often in the arena. I'm not sure how common it is in Constructed, but it's not a terrible card. Having that extra healing ability is pretty awesome, and it acts like a Frostbolt, so if you need to trade into something, you can. Legendaries? Nothing. Still nothing. We do have more new cards, though. Have we been over Dreadscale Knight? No. It's a Murloc. It's got lifesteal. It's fun. Vrygul? I don't know, how do you... Is it Rygul or Vrygul? How do you explain this card or describe its name? I don't know. It's another one of the cards with the death rattle if it's your opponent's turn, summon a 2/2 ghoul. There's a lot of these cards. And it's not terrible. I mean, the stat trade isn't really that bad, right? So instead of getting a 3/1, you get a 2/2, which is the same stats but split differently. So I think it provides a lot of value, and I've definitely picked it up in the arena. Devour Mind, I've actually had a lot of fun with in the arena too. Being able to steal 3 cards from your deck, from your opponent's deck, is pretty hilarious, especially when you steal like someone else's Death Knight or a big AoE or something like that. It just provides value from outside of your deck that you wouldn't normally have. So if you, perchance, have a bad draft, pick up Devour Mind, right? That'll give you the extra value you need to maybe push through. Drakari Defender is pretty funny. It's pretty darn hard to deal with. A 2/8 taunt is really tough to deal with, especially when it's played on turn 3. However, you have to watch out for that 3-mana overload. You're pretty much guaranteed to not be able to play anything after you play Drakari Defender early. So keep that in mind. However, it will stall the game for a very long time with that 8 health, which is awesome. Yes! First legendary, and we still have like 40 packs left to go, so we're guaranteed at least one more, which is freaking awesome. Alright, Lich King, hello, welcome to the party. He is one of the best neutral legendaries from the expansion right now. He's an 8/8, he's got taunt, and his passive ability gives you a random Death Knight card, kind of like Ysera the dragon. The Death Knight cards I couldn't explain off the top of my head, but they're all very powerful in their own ways and provide you some of that awesome extra value you can use to win the game. I don't really know how else to explain him other than he's just a good card, which is honestly, kind of the theme of this whole like the legendaries from this expansion. Basically every legendary from this expansion I think is just really like good and is usable in some form of standard meta deck, which is awesome. You'll see this guy in a lot of slower control decks. He'll be swapped in for things in Highlander Priest, things for Jade Druid, things for Freeze Mage, you know, like anything with slow control with a big win condition at the end, he can be swapped in. He's not a staple, but he is flexible enough to be put anywhere, which is really awesome. We haven't been over Necrotic Geist, or Bring It On. Necrotic Geist is pretty common in the arena. It doesn't have great stats, but its passive is pretty awesome. So if you're playing a class like Paladin, or something that, or have a lot of cards that generate minions, you get a lot of value out of him, right? Because after one of those minions dies, they summon a 2/2 ghoul. Now, Bring It On is not going to be found in the arena, but it will be found in Constructed. One of the main staple warrior decks right now is the Bring It On Warrior, which is essentially this card combined with another card called Dead Man's Hand. And Dead Man's Hand copies your hand and puts it back into your deck. So the whole point of your deck is basically you have draw, you have removal, you have Bring It On for life gain, and then you have like Death Rattle minions basically, or something like that that you can keep cycling. And you never run out of cards, and you're constantly gaining a ton of life, and they're never able to beat you because you just are like, it's not only is this card super cheap, but it gives you so much life back that it basically negates an entire turn, which is hilarious. However, you have to keep in mind that it also has the negative effect of reducing the cost of your minions in the opponent's hand by 2, right? So if you're playing this early, it's not a good idea. You want to play it after you've established some control on the board, and you want to keep at least 1 to cycle back into your deck with Dead Man's Hand so you can continue to gain life, right? The idea is you want to gain more life than your opponent and have your opponent play all their minions, you control them, and you just keep controlling them while gaining life, and you win, right? It's a very fun meta deck, and it's something that I want to craft one day, so it's good to have this card added. But you will not see this in the arena because the value that you gain from the life is just not worth the tempo that your opponent might get from you using the card, right? More legendaries? Nah, they wouldn't be that nice to me. But we do get a new card, Roll the Bones. It's just a draw card. If you're playing Death Battle Rogue, it's good. I have drafted it a couple times in the arena, but it's not a staple. It's just not, I don't know how to explain it. It's okay. It's really not that great, but you have the potential to really roll with it. Like, let's say you draw 2 Death Rattle cards in a row, boom, all of a sudden you draw 3 cards for 2 mana. You know, that's pretty good tempo, but most of the time you're only going to draw 1. Any other surprises? Oh man, we have only 1 new card here too. Sanguine Reveler. I don't know, how do you pronounce that? Sanguine. I have no idea. It's part of the whole like warlock synergy of destroying your minions to gain buffs to other minions. There's another card that's a lot more high value than this, which hopefully we'll run into, because I believe, actually no, that was from the last expansion, wasn't it? It was like Ravenous Pterodax or something like that. The 4-mana 4/4 destroy minion and adapt twice. That's way better. This is really hard to get a good synergy off because not only does it de-tempo you early, the stats are not strong enough for it to really be good against anything, right? It can easily be taken out by a Frostbolt or some other like small creature removal. So you de-tempo yourself by destroying one of your own minions, and then immediately this guy just kind of goes down. However, it is used sometimes in Zoolock, and I don't think I've really seen it in the arena at all. Hey, golden common, nice, and it's new. Actually, I think all of these are new except for Spellweaver. That's awesome. Web Weave. Let's start with the golden, right? Summon 2/1/2 poisonous spiders. It's pretty good. It's solid. Having that extra trade value is awesome, and a lot of classes won't be able to deal with both the spiders. They might be able to deal with one, but at least you'll have one to trade into a minion later. It's a very good control mechanism. Voodoo Hexer, I really like personally, and have drafted in the arena as a shaman. It's a taunt, it's got 7 health, and it freezes any character damaged by the minion. So that includes people with weapons, right? So it's like it's a water elemental, like the 3/6 mage card, with 1 more health, 1 less attack, and taunt. So they have to get through it, which is awesome. Venomancer is a solid 5 mana card. It's not great. The 2 attack is crappy, and the 5 health is okay for turn 5, but it can easily be silenced or removed in some way, so you may only get 1 trade with it, right? Cobalt Scalebane is the same way, but it has the ability to sort of stack with other minions on the board. Plus it has the dragon ability, which means you can synergize it with certain things, right? In which case, not only are you getting the passive ability, which is at the end of your turn, give a random friendly minion +3 attack, you can maybe play another dragon, or hold Cobalt Scalebane in your hand to play another dragon's battle cry, right? So in this case, Cobalt Scalebane would be picked over Venomancer because not only is it gonna trade for about the same, it also is going to help out the rest of your board and give you extra tempo that way. More legendaries? Nope, but we do have a couple new cards, Mindbreaker and Axorus Veteran. This is a solid 1-drop minion, like I said. 1/1 is kind of like the standard stat value for turn 1. But this also has the battle cry of buffing a minion, giving you extra tempo. So that inherently puts it at a higher value than a lot of other 1-drops. Mindbreaker is interesting because it also detempos you. So make sure when you're playing it, you have other cards to play on the following turns so you don't end up wasting mana on your hero power, right? If you use this card properly, you can really screw over people, and I've had a couple games where I've played Mindbreaker like on turn 3 and have completely just ruined people's games because they can't use their hero power to follow up with a spell or to gain some life back or, you know, whatever. And this guy stayed alive the entire game and they just couldn't deal with it. Now, if you keep playing cards on curve, you're gonna win because you won't need your hero power. So make sure that you know what you're doing when you're playing this card. You will see it somewhat frequently in the arena right now. It's not super common. I don't think it's used in Constructed from what I can remember, but it's not a bad card, and it's very fun to play if you have the right synergies. Anything new? A couple things. Acolyte of Agony and Bloodworm. Acolyte's just a standard priest card they added. It gave him solid stats and the ability to lifesteal, so don't worry about dying anytime soon. He's alright. Bloodworm is the same way, but is a little bit more expensive and has the beast tag on it, so you maybe have some hunter synergies there, you know? I don't really know. There's probably some synergies to go with that. So you're trading the extra, like the beast tag and the extra stats for that extra 2 mana, right? I don't know what to say about it. It's somewhat common in the arena, but I don't really think you'll see it in Constructed that much. Hey, a golden rare, sweet. And it's a new card. We've been over everything else. Strong Shell Scavenger is a situational 4-drop. It's for the druid, and it gives top minions +2/+2 with its battle cry. It's very fun if you synergize it with Druid's other new super powerful cards, Spreading Plague, which summons 1/5 Scarab taunt minions. Like, playing this on the following turn is terrifying because all of a sudden they're 3/7s, and having a board of 3/7s is very hard to deal with. Like, having a board of 1/5s to deal with is very hard to deal with. So just imagine if you can get the synergy off. The question though is can you get the synergy off? So you won't see it super common, like it's not super common in the arena. Especially now that they've gotten rid of the synergy picks in the arena. It's even less common now because you have to draft the top minions in order for this guy to be effective. What else we got? All of these. Have we been over Night Howler? I don't think we have, actually. And we have 2 of them just for show. Night Howler is not that great. It's got pretty bad stats for turn 4. And the odds of you getting this guy to ramp out of control is really hard, just because he has such low health. Now, of course, he can make a trade with a lower attack minion, but that's one thing. That's one minion. So he becomes like a 5. He becomes like a 5/1 or a 5/2, and that immediately dies to a hero power or, like a cheap spell or another cheap minion. So he's not great, and he'll often be looked over in favor of more valuable cards when you're drafting in the arena. I don't think you'll really see him in constructed. Hey, an epic. Awesome. We have been over, I think, everything else, but have we been over Drakari Enchanter? I don't think so. Let's go over him, shall we? Drakari Enchanter is, well, as of late, Blizzard changed a couple of minions' abilities from like death rattle abilities to end of turn abilities, and they've added a couple cards in this expansion that also are called end of turn abilities, and basically it means at the end of the turn, do this thing. So for example, Master Swordsmith, at the end of the turn, give him friendly minion +1 attack. The Dragon that we just went over, Cobalt Scalebane, end of turn, give a minion +3 attack. There's a cool Warlock card that I can't remember, Dread something. It's not Dread Infernal, it's something. Dread something. Evil something. At the end of turn, deal 1 damage to all enemy minions. What the heck? Like, imagine synergizing that with Drakari Enchanter, right? All those trigger twice, you get super buffs, you get super board clears, whatever. Problem is, once again, getting that synergy off. The 5 health does make it survivable, but it's not good inherently stat-wise, so you won't see it very frequently in the arena. However, I do believe there are a couple, I think Warlock does use it a couple times, and I can't remember if it's used in any of their decks. Maybe Dragon Priest? Dragon Priest does have a couple of synergies with that now. Hey, oh, this is cool. Okay, so we got a bunch of new cards here which we can go over, and they're very fun. Especially this one right here, Howl Fiend. I love this card just because it is used in one very specific variant of Warlock deck called Discard Mill Warlock. And the whole idea is like to get this really complicated synergy off using Warlock's damage dealing board clears and giving this minion to your opponent using a new card that also came out called Treachery. So what you do is you play this minion, you play Treachery on the minion, you give it to your opponent, and then you start using board clears. Like the new one is Defile, which deals 1 damage to a minion. If that minion dies, cast the spell again. So you have the potential to have your opponent discard up to 6 cards, which is just hilarious when you get the combo off. However, it's pretty hard to get a perfect 6 off on this card. So most of the time you only discard 2, 3, maybe 4 if you're lucky. Forge of Souls is just a solid warrior draw mechanic, which I think frankly warrior needed. And it works with the weapon synergy because you deal damage with your weapons, right? So it's just a solid card. If you drafted a couple weapons in your deck in the arena, this isn't a bad card to pick up. You're gonna get some good draws from it, right? Valkyr Soul Claimer is kind of funny. It has the potential to ramp a little bit out of control, which is why it is drafted in the arena sometimes. But for the most part, you're only gonna get like one 2/2 ghoul, which even then is still, it's not terrible now that I think about it. Maybe I should draft this card more often, frankly. It's not bad. It just is hard to get more than 1 2/2 ghoul off of it. I don't know if it's used in constructed. I think it would probably be picked by more valuable cards. It would be pass aside to be picked by more valuable cards. Crypt Lore is pretty funny, and it's pretty common in the arena. It's a 1/6 taunt, and has a passive ability after you summon a minion gain +1 health. A lot of people will flat out play this on turn 3, because who knows, maybe they have a 4-drop follow-up, in which case it gains a health, or they have 2 2-drops, and they gains 2 health, and so it sort of heals itself, right? Except it has the added ability of being able to actually be healed, not just gain maximum health. So who knows, it could get, maybe you have, what's the druid thing? Healing Touch. Heal it for 8 or whatever, right? That's kind of a weird synergy, and I'm kind of stretching there. But you see what I'm saying? It can ramp out of control very easily by playing minions, And it's a taunt, so they have to get through that before they can get to your other minions. So it's very good. What else do we have? Couple of good cards here that we haven't been over. Bone Mare and Shadow Blade. Shadow Blade's an awesome rogue weapon. The battle cry makes your hero immune, so you don't take any damage with that first swing. Oh, it's just so good. It's a staple in a lot of arena decks, and I believe in aggro rogue too, in constructed. Bone Mare is also a very good card. It's a 7 mana, 5/5 that gives a friendly minion +4/+4 in taunt. It's a bit slow, so you'll see it in more control decks than you will in aggro decks. But there are a couple variants, and in standard especially, it's used in a lot more widely based decks. Like, you'll see it in aggro rogue, aggro warlock, sometimes you'll see it in like control warrior. It can be found anywhere. It's just a very good card. In the arena, it's a little harder to get off because if you're playing from behind, right, you're not going to be able to get the battle cry off. So it is very commonly picked in the arena because it's just got that awesome ability right there. But don't expect it to be the game winner that you think it's going to be. I think a lot of people overestimated its ability to really be the game winner. It certainly can be, but you have to make sure that you have a board for it first. Okie doke. Let's see. Anything new here? Druid of the Swarm is new. It's a very fun choose one card. You can either transform it into a 1/2 poisonous beast or a 1/5 beast with taunt. Either one is a pretty good choice in my opinion. You can either make this available to trade into some big minion or you stall for a long time. It's great to play early, it's great to play in the middle of the game, it's great to play late game. It's just a good card. Murloc is new. It's a Shaman Murloc, and it freezes an enemy. It's kind of going with that whole Shaman synergy thing. Its stats are okay for turn 2, and it's got a great battle cry, so you will see it pretty commonly in the arena. And you will see it with that whole Shaman, Elemental Shaman synergy. Here's what we were talking about. Defile. Defile's the big new Warlock AoE sort of thing. Not only is it great, it's super great. And I love the synergies that people have come up with to mess with it. It is so fun to play the discard Warlock deck and watch your opponent lose their entire hand. And in the arena, if you can get the perfect setup, you only lose 1 minion, or maybe even 0 minions, and you clear their entire board for like 3 or 4 damage, which is hilarious. It's just so great to get that synergy off, but you have to be really careful. Don't draft too many of these in the arena because, once again, getting the ability to recast it is kind of hard. You have to make sure that all the minions have the right amount of health, and you're not destroying your own board. So, pick 1, maybe 2, I would recommend. Tainted Zealots, 2 mana, 1/1, Divine Shield spell damage 1. It's basically a spell trigger. It's meant to be survivable, it's meant to be cheap so you can drop it and play a spell the following turn, or in the middle or late of the game, drop it, play a couple spells, deal damage, deal that extra damage, and either make the trades or kill the person, right? In terms of pure stats, it's not very good, so it's not super common in the arena, but it's definitely seen. It's definitely seen. Anything new here? Grave Shambler and Happy Ghoul are new. Happy Ghoul is kind of funny. It's great with Priest because you can just heal on turn 3 and then play it for 0 mana, so you get a little bit of tempo there. Its solid stats mean it's somewhat common in the arena, but if obviously you have a better option, you're gonna pick the better option, right? Grave Shambler is kind of funny. I've seen it picked fairly frequently in rogue decks in the arena, just because you're more likely to get the passive synergy off, which is whenever your weapon's destroyed, gain +1/+1. However, I have seen it in warrior. I don't think it's really played in constructed, but it's somewhat common in the arena, especially because it's also an elemental and you can get additional elemental synergy from it. Golden Epic, awesome. I'll take it. We've been over everything else, so let's just go over the Golden Epic. Rattling Rascal, Battle Cry, summon a 5/5 skeleton, Death Rattle, summon one for your opponent. Obviously, it gives you some big tempo right off the bat, but it also has the negative effect of summoning one for your opponent. I don't really see it very often in the arena, and I don't think it's really used and constructed at all, because that negative effect, more often than not, will outweigh the positive one, right? You don't really know how to control the extra value that your opponent gets from the Death Rattle. It's great to have the tempo. It is. It really is. But it's too uncontrollable to be a very good 4-drop. Another epic, sweet. And a new card too, so let's go over the rare first. Howling Commander, it's a paladin card. Doesn't have great stats for turn 3, but has a cool battle cry. You will see it in certain control paladin variant decks and constructed, and it's somewhat common in the arena, but not super common, because lately, honestly, haven't seen a lot of Divine Shields in paladin decks, frankly, being drafted. There's just other cards that are better, like Spike Ridge Steed or you know, Consecrate or whatever. So more often than not, you're going to be passing over Howling Commander for something else, but it's awesome when you can get that synergy. It's just hilarious. Especially, like, what if you draft Tyrion Fordring, right? That'd be pretty awesome. Abominable Bowman is just a good 7-drop. It's got good stats, it's got a good Death Rattle, but it's slow, which is not Hunter's style, right? So you really need to watch out for this card, because while it is a very good card, it sort of is retroactive in Hunter's playstyle, and if Hunter's behind, it's not good to play a 6/7 on turn 7. It just isn't. What was that? That was a weird glitch. Did you see that weird icicle thing? I have no idea what it was. Unfortunately, there are no new cards for us to go over here, so we're going to pass. On the right side, that means we can start flipping through packs faster. Hopefully we'll run into some legendaries quickly. Anything new? Blood Razor is. It's a good warrior weapon. It has an AoE, deal 1 damage to all minions, which is better in warrior than it is in warlock in a lot of senses, and it's more controllable, right? So maybe you have some enraged minions, or maybe you have a card, a warrior class card, that draws you cards like Battle Rage, or copies minions, right? There's a lot of warrior synergies with damaged minions. Plus, it has the equivalent of having an extra 1 attack on the weapon. So it's like a Fiery War Axe with an additional AoE ability, which is pretty good for 4 mana. Anything new here? Exploding Bloatbat. That's the only one, I think. It's alright. It's good hunter control. The whole point is it's supposed to die and kill enemy minions. So it's 4 mana for a delayed Consecrate. Hopefully it doesn't get silenced or triggered at a bad time, right? So the point is you want to play this on a board that's maybe already full so you can catch up. Playing it on turn 4 by itself can be a kind of make or break situation where, like, if it just gets pinged and destroyed, you get no value from it, right? But if it stays alive in time for them to play a minion and you trade it in, it's good. So be careful when you play this card. All of these have been gone over. Look at that. Now we can just start flying through packs. We're gonna get at least one more legendary. Ah, here's a fun card. Unwilling Sacrifice. So with the adapt mechanic, one of the adapt abilities that you can get is the ability to again generate 2 1/1 minions. It's hilarious combining that with this card. And Warlock also has a lot of minions with death battles that summon other minions or do other things, where it's a pretty good card in general. However, in the arena, it's kind of hard to get the synergy off because you want to be protecting your minions, right? You don't want to be destroying your own minions unless you specifically drafted cards that generate like smaller minions, like the Battle Cry guy that we were talking about, the Skelemancer or whatever it was called. That's a good synergy, right? Then you want to draft Unwilling Sacrifice. But if you're trying to protect your board, and in many cases that's more important than the tempo you get from destroying like a random enemy minion, right? Another epic, cool. We've been over this golden, so we'll just go over the epic. Spectral Pillager, it's a combo card. It's got not great stats for turn 6, but it's got a fun little combo ability where if you play multiple cards in a turn, so let's say it's turn 10, you play a 2 mana card, a 3 mana card, and a backstab, all of a sudden its combo ability is deal 3 damage, which is, you know, it's pretty good. It's kind of like Fire Elemental. However, because it's delayed like that, it's not as good as Fire Elemental. So it's not a great card, it's an okay card. Man, we are just rolling epics non-stop. I'll take it. And we got a really good rare, too. Plus a new card. Let's start with Breath of Sindragosa. It's a solid removal card. It deals 2 damage to an enemy and freezes it. Great value there. It's cheap, which means good tempo. You're going to see it fairly commonly in the arena. And I believe it is used in some Control Mage variants in Standard. Spreading Plague is the big card of this like expansion that a lot of people hate. Originally it was 5 mana. And so it could be synergized with something like Nourish, so you draw into it and then you stall. It was so strong they had to nerf it. And honestly, even now, it's still so strong because you can just... I don't know, you just stop a board. You stop everything for like 2 turns. And that gives you the opportunity to draw into some value and make removal plays and what have you, right? So it's really commonly picked up in the arena. You're going to see it a lot in the arena. So watch your board because the amount of 1/5 scarabs is determined by the amount of minions you have on board, the opponent has on the board, right? So it's always something to worry about, and I've definitely been completely shut down in some games because I have this great board, I'm ready to make the push for lethal, and then boom, they play Spreading Plague, and I'm stalled for 2 turns, 3 turns. And then they draw the answers they need and they win the game, which sucks. We've already been over Nosferatu, but it's awesome to see it again. It's another epic we can take. Let's move on. Been over everything here. Moving on. Getting a lot of those veterans. We're not a charity service. Let's see. Been over all of these. Even a lot of the same card just kind of sucks. Come on, give me at least some new cards that I can go over to add to my collection. Another epic, look at that. And it's a good one. This is a pretty awesome card for Paladin. It's got a huge amount of health for turn 6. A decent amount of attacks. So the stat distribution it's just good. You know, it's the equivalent of like a 6/6. And if you have any heal abilities or weapon, what's the weapon? Silver something champion? True Silver Champion. Why couldn't I remember that card name? That's a cool synergy, right? So you have the potential to do even more control or damage with this card. It's very commonly picked as an epic in the arena. Been over everything here. Come on, new stuff. I don't even care about the legendary at this point. Just give me new cards that I can explain to people. Shallow Gravedigger, thank you. New card, it's nice because you get some nice additional value. It's kind of like the dragon, except it's random. And there are some death rattle cards that aren't very good, right? So be careful when you pick up this card. It's okay. It's as good as some 3-drops, but you gotta watch out because it's easily removed and you can get detempoed very easily in exchange for a crappy value card. Anything new here? Nope. Come on! I require more souls. Ah! Here's something new. Ice fishing. Once again, synergizing with the whole Murloc Shaman abilities. There's been cards from all across old expansions that up until this one that have sort of been building towards a Murloc Shaman deck. And so, you know, this just makes Murloc Shaman more playable. You're not going to see it a lot in the arena because you need to draft Murlocs, and the odds of you drafting a full-on Murloc Synergy Shaman deck in the arena is super duper low. However, it's a fun card to play in Constructed for sure. We're going to get at least one more legendary from this, I think. There it is. Yes! Thank you, game! That is one card that I really, really wanted because Druid is currently one of the top decks in the meta right now. And Malfurion the Pestilent only helps them even more. He's got such a great battle cry. It's a choose one, sorry. It's a choose one ability. Summon 2 poisonous spiders or 2 scarabs with taunts. You can either stall the game or add a little bit of extra control to your board, which is it's just annoying, right? And additionally, it upgrades your hero power. So it becomes, your hero power becomes choose 1, gain +3 attack, or choose 1, gain +3 armor. So you get some extra, like a lot of life gain or a lot of extra removal. And just him smacking your face from every turn after turn 7 is terrifying, right? Deal 3 damage every turn. Good lord. And you can control where that goes. Scary. So, thank you, game, for giving me Malfurion the Pestilent. He's an awesome card. This is one of the Death Knights that I was explaining. Well, you're going to see hopefully at least one more. I would like to get all the Death Knights because all of them can be used in any deck. All of them are overpowered. All of them are awesome. Desperate Stand we didn't go over, actually. It's a fun little paladin ability. It's great with synergizing with Divine Shields, right? Because you resummon the minion with Divine Shields. It's great with Death Rattles, right? Because you get additional Death Rattle value. However, I'm not sure if it's used very often in Standard, because even though it could have some synergies with aggro decks, there's a lot more cards that are higher value that you're going to use to synergize, right? In the arena, I have picked it up a couple times. But it's not a common pickup. It's not something I would most likely pick up something else over Desperate Stand. Everything here we've been over. There's Grim Necromancer. That's what I was thinking of. Not Skelemancer, sorry. Grim Necromancer. That's the unwilling sacrifice guy that you synergize with. One more legendary, please. Por favor. Anything here? Tuskar Fisherman. It's just a solid 2-drop with a good battle cry. So you'll see him pretty commonly in the arena. Don't expect to get the battle cry off that often. More often, you're just going to be playing it as a 2-drop. I don't think you really see it in Constructed. Here's a question. Would it be better, theoretically, to open the other packs now in order to up my chances of getting a legendary from Knights of the Frozen Throne? Or is it safer to just open the Knights of the Frozen Throne pack in case I get a legendary from one of those packs? Because I wouldn't want to reset, right? Oh, I don't want to think about it. Death Axe Punisher is another new card. It's part of the lifesteal synergy that they've been adding and building on. It's just a solid battle cry, right? But not great stats for turn 4. You won't see it picked up really as an epic in the arena unless you specifically have, like, you know, 4 bloodworms, right? So don't expect to pick this one up in the arena. Don't expect to see it much in Constructed. That's a good question. Do we open up these packs, the Classic and Whispers packs, in exchange for maybe upping the chance of getting a legendary in KFT? Or is that too risky? Because what if we get a legendary in these ones that we don't need, and that resets the counter, right? I'll just finish opening the KFT packs. I think it's safer to do it that way. Been over everything here. Been over everything here. Man, they really want me to go fishing for Murlocs. Been over everything here. Been over everything here. Come on. One more legendary? Please. And golden common's alright. Been over everything here, darn it. Come on, we only have 5 more packs. Give us another. Ah, that's the name of it. Despicable Dreadlord. I was like, dread something, like evil something. Despicable Dreadlord. Such a good rare card. 4/5 for 5 means it's pretty survivable when played on turn 5. And it's got an awesome passive ability. You keep that alive for 2 or 3 turns, you clear someone's board. It's just fantastic all around. If you see it in the arena, you're picking it up. It's definitely used in Control, Warlock, and Standard, and it may even be used in some aggro variants, but I'm not 100% sure. I think you're going to see it more in like a Dreadlord or Dread Knight. Death Knight Warlock. What is his name? Blood Seeker? Blood something? Doesn't matter. The point is it's a good card. Legendary? Oh. Oh, that's new. Corpse Widow. Very solid 5-drop. Synergizes with death rattles and is a beast. So it's good. You're going to see this picked up more often than you're going to see Abominable Bowman picked up because it's cheaper and also has good stats. So you will see this more frequently than that card. Been over everything here. Oh no, only 2 bags left to go. Come on. An epic, which we already have. 3 of those? Could you not give me another epic? Come on. Maybe they didn't add a lot for KFT. This is it. Nothing. And we've been over all of these. That's it for the KFT packs. Let's go over the Whispers ones and the Plastic ones, which we've already seen all these cards. Nothing new there. I hope we don't get any legendaries from these. I'll take an epic. Okay, I wouldn't mind getting a classic legendary, because there are still some core classic legendaries that are useful. Okay. Nothing. That's it for all the card packs. Now I expect that we will have enough dust to craft at least 1 more legendary, so I'm going to do that and skip the video ahead to the point of crafting. I will see you then. So what do we want? Garage. So we have Paladin. We have Shaman, Warlock, Paladin, and now Druid. We don't have Rogue, we don't have Priest, we don't have Mage. We're gonna go with Priest. Or Mage. Mage is funny. Not Priest, Priest is better. Okay. Alright, we're back. So, this is the card that I've chosen to craft today. It's going to be the Death Knight for the Priest, Shadow Reaper Anduin. He is such a good card, and I will explain more after we craft him.
The light has betrayed me.
Isn't that cool? He's just awesome. His quote says, I will tell you that Velen never taught me. I'll tell you what Velen never taught me. Whosoever, wow, I'm messing this entire thing up. Shall I reset? Cough, cough, let's begin. I will tell you what Velen never taught me. Whosoever stands before the light inevitably casts a shadow. Such a cool legendary, and is arguably one of the best Death Knights currently in the meta. He is a staple in Highlander Priest, which is basically Shadow Reaper Anduin with a bunch of cheap spells and Raza the Unchained, which makes your hero power cost 0. So you just infinitely spam your hero power, which is deal 2 damage. After you play a card, refresh it. So you just cycle hero powers over and over again. And you can either wipe someone's board or tempo attack their face and win the game, right? He is so strong, and I'm immediately going to add him to a priest deck because he's just so good. In addition to that, he also gives you the battle cry ability of destroying any minions with 5 or more attack. So he literally adds a board clear shadow or death to your kit too. So just that immense amount of value puts him ahead of a couple of the other Death Knights that I could have crafted. Certainly he's less fun than something like the Death Knight for the Mage or the Hunter, but I think in terms of just the pure value that I need for decks, this guy was the one to pick. So thank you for joining my crew, Shadow Reaper Anduin. You are a very wonderful addition to my collection. And, well, that's everything. We've got everything we need. We are out of dust, we're out of cards, which means that this is the end of the video. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope I provided some form of education from all the random words that I was spouting. And I hope to see you again very soon with maybe another arena video or something else. We'll see. Anyways, once again, thanks for watching. I'll see y'all later.